Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Resident Evil 0 S rank, hard difficulty, no healing walkthrough. We've just entered the training facility, and this is going to be a large chunk of your time for the next, say, around 26 minutes if you follow this, even though on your game, unfortunately, it will be a little bit longer because I've trimmed out all the door sequences. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I've done this for the sure reason that you see enough of it when you play, so it's nice to not see it. And I do believe that there is a mod on PC that removes it, but unfortunately, these were removed by my hand over the period of a few hours. So I'm going to start by saving. It's the first thing you want to do in the training facility. That way you can plan your route, you can see what you're going to do, and you can move through it. And if you get a good section, if you get a good path, reload, and then do it flawlessly. And that's pretty much what you're going to see here. It's a sequence of me doing routes that I've planned out, that I've made sure that they work, and this first one involves leaving Rebecca behind and moving into this room to get the crank. The moment you touch the crank, you're going to trigger the birds, but just ignore them and exit immediately. You'll notice at the beginning I was messing around once again with herbs because I had no faith that I could do this. Turns out I could do this, and I didn't need to do that, so if you do not touch those herbs, you will get 25G / probably a silver trophy, so feel free to do that. Very important. But this is me giving Rebecca some stuff and leaving out of the menu because inventory management in this game is a nightmare. It's one of the trickiest aspects of this Resident Evil. But the cool news is, on this game you're able to drop items, but when you go through here, immediately rush this corridor and get to this door before that zombie can attest to anything else. I tried to pick up the disc just then, but I ended up examining the photo because this game has an incredible problem where the detection on descriptions is larger than the detection on items. So you can spend a hell of a long time examining, like, this is a wooden desk and it's cock blocking your item when you're trying to grab something, and it can get you killed, it can get you into some really bad situations, and I really wish that they would have tweaked that, but they didn't. So those text boxes are one of the hardest bosses in the game. But get Rebecca over onto this platform, use the crank lever, and then raise the lift. From here on, we're going to be skipping the two crazy bugs that just dropped in, and we're going to be progressing outwards into the area with the crows. We're going to be coming back this way, so if you want to kill them now, you can do, but I choose to do it later on when I have a grenade launcher, because those creatures on hard are a nightmare. For some reason, they don't flinch, and then sometimes they do, and then sometimes they don't. So on a no damage run, the shotgun just wasn't doing it. The pistol laughed in their face, and then the grenade launcher seemed to be the guaranteed way to knock them back. And I had a couple of stray shells, and it worked wonders. So that's what we're going to do later on. But you want to drop your hookshot in this room. Wherever you want to do it is entirely up to you. I put it near this door, mainly because if I put it in the room, you might bump into the bugs later on that are going to spawn. Additionally, before you switch back to Billy, you want to unlock the door. I don't think I did that just then. When you come out of this room, there should be a gap around the left-hand side of that zombie, but you'll notice the camera angle and the controls kind of screwed me when I entered that area, and I ran towards bad people. That can happen every so often. The camera and the new controls are at complete conflict with each other, and you move in a weird direction, and it's locked until you reset the position of the analog to neutral and press it again. So if you're ever having issues running the wrong direction, completely stop and then readjust. It can take some getting used to, and it can lead to some nasty resets and some really angry moments, but it's just how the game works, guys. It's janky. But now we've got Billy through here, what we're going to do is I'm probably going to drop something outside this room because I want to go in here and get the grenade launcher. But also inside here is some shotgun shells, and there is one of the busts that we're going to be using to open up the basement. So you'll notice I give Rebecca the handgun to free up some space, and then we're going to do a pretty tricky run here. So run immediately to your left, and then kite the room in an anti-clockwise way. Hit the bust, and then go towards the fireplace. The fireplace is another area where those text boxes are going to fuck you. It's ridiculous. The painting nobility, the nobility of nobility. Like, no! I want the shells, game. Stop being so dickish. And then get out of there before they can chuck their custard at you or bite you. Now that we've done that, I'm going to go and do a quick save. The purpose of this save is not because I have any fear whatsoever of the Centipede boss, it's because I wanted to try and kill it with the least amount of ammunition I could, and you'll notice I leave Rebecca at the door, so that when I can save, I could have flipped back to her and gone through the door, without realising Rebecca's the person who has all the ink ribbons, so if I was on a speedrun that would be a reset, because that's poor optimisation, but I'm not, and instead I bring her down here and do a little bit of a walk of shame, and then we do a quick save. So I tried killing this thing with the grenade launcher, it took all the grenades. I tried killing it with the shotgun, it took nearly all my shotguns. So I decided to hit it a bunch with the grenade launcher and then finish it with the pistol. It's going to be a little bit slower, so if you're looking for the fastest kill, you're not going to get it. But this way, it means that we don't use, you know, all our shotgun shells and all our good bullets, basically. And this boss is so incredibly easy. Once you fight it once, you'll immediately see the safe spots and you'll never get touched by it. The only fear is if it kills Rebecca, and I've fought this thing maybe 10 times now, and I've never seen it kill Rebecca, so I don't think you should have any issues. But run back into this main hall. This was one of the only rooms in the game I remembered from my time on the GameCube, and I knew there was a boss in this room. I couldn't remember what it was, though. I thought it was a scorpion, because my memories had got all fused together. But have Billy do the crank. It's going to raise this cage that has the flame key underneath it. And this is another one of those areas where the game really wants you to do the Resident Evil thing. 'Cause if you pick this key up, it'll tell you it's a facility key. If you don't examine it, you don't realise there's fire on it. And you don't realise it's the flame motif key because the game isn't very specific about the name. And I think that's a little bit misleading. I understand that there's the red on it, so you could just perceive it to mean fire. But, you know, if you're not in the mindset of Resident Evil and you're not putting one and one together, it can be tricky to figure out what that key was for, and that's what these games really do all the time, and that's one of the areas where games have changed. But this is the good old Centipede guy. I like to shoot him in the belly / the face. I don't know the damage variables on this guy, and I should correct some damage variables I mentioned in the previous video. When I told you that the pistol does 5 damage, that is to the first form of Marcus, which is the final boss, the Leech Queen. And all those statistics I reeled off were pretty much specific to him. The gun apparently does varying damage on varying enemies, but the only universal truth is that the damage drops off over distance. So I wish I could get you a concise spreadsheet full of statistics so that I wasn't misquoting things or giving you misinformation, because I hate doing that. But I simply don't know, guys, and I don't have a cheat engine for the PC version. I don't even have the PC version, so I don't really have this information. All I'll tell you is it exists, so if you want to try and find it, you're a brave man, because I had a couple of Googles for some stats, and it can be quite tricky, but if you go to the streams where people are speedrunning this, I'm sure in the chats they'll have links or at least some of the information memorised, because those people are really devoted to learning these games, and this is, for all intents and purposes, like my second playthrough of this game, because I might have beaten it once or twice when I bought it for the GameCube, but back then I wasn't playing games on hardest difficulties. I wasn't really going back to challenge myself. I would have probably beat the game and then ran around with whatever unlimited weapon there was and cheesed the rest of it and thought I was amazing, because that's kind of what you did when you were younger. So I am rather new in the grand scheme of things to this game, but at the same time, you know, I've put a lot of time into it the last week. I've had a lot of fun with it, and I've made hopefully a helpful walkthrough. But now the boss is dead, we're going to be moving on to using the flame motif key. You can save now if you want to, so that you don't have to kill the boss again. Okay. I'm actually going to risk this, just in case. When you hit this room, if you come around here, there'll be one zombie moving towards you. Decapitate him. If that doesn't work, try and back up and shoot him again, or just mash trigger. Either can fail, it all depends on what the zombie wants to do. And because this is a room that we're going to be frequenting a lot, I'm going to kill the rest with the pistol. Did you hear that just then? That was the lucky 10% chance to decap, so we killed one of these guys. So I'm just going to wait, I'm going to press the L1 to try and get my pistol on a zombie, and I'm going to listen out as best I can to see who I'm hitting. And at this moment, I'm hoping you understand the concept of how the zombies work. If you're in the proximity, they have a very fast grab that has a lot of range and is incredibly punishing because you can't get out of it and avoid damage. You will take the damage every time. So you want to try and never get too close to them and never risk it. I was reading the other day that there is indeed a strategy that involves knifing the zombies as they go to lunge, and if you knife low, it can almost be a guaranteed knockdown. If you follow it up, I think, with 2 more knives, and you can kind of loop the zombies that way. The problem is, if you don't knife the moment they try and grab you, you will be grabbed. So it's one of those things where it's almost like a parry, where you have to preempt it, swing the knife, and hit them as they start. Because it's a very quick grab, and it's instantly punishing you if it touches you. And I played around a little bit with it, and in my experimentation, it does kind of work, but it's also more difficult than it needs to be, because you have to swing early. If you don't swing early, you'll swing too late and get grabbed. And it's all about feel, and it all depends on how much do you want to be playing this game? How good do you want to get at it? But if you can get the timings down, you can do a lot of damage with the knife, and I've been playing with it in Leech Hunter mode, which is a bonus mode in the game that I might talk about a little later on. Don't like it at all. In this room there's 3 zombies and it's incredibly cramped with a ladder, but there is also one of the busts we're going to need for a puzzle later on, and there's also the pump action shotgun, which is one of my favourite weapons in this game. So put these guys down. If you bring Rebecca with you, you can use Rebecca to do this moment by giving her the gun, and she will actually shoot these enemies before they get onto screen, and she'll also tell you when there's no enemies left, because we're humans so we're not too sure, we have to double check, but she knows, and she'll just put her gun up if nobody's left alive, and it can be a much quicker way of doing that. That being said, I never carry Rebecca anyway, because I don't want her to take accidental damage because she's the weaker of the characters. But on a run such as this, it doesn't really matter. They're both the weaker of the characters because of the nature of what we're doing here. But of course the inventory bites me in the bottom, so I'm carrying too much stuff, and I'm probably going to drop the pistol bullets because it's the least useful item I'm carrying. A lot of speedrunners, I've noticed when I've been watching stuff on this game after I recorded this, they get rid of the pistol almost immediately. They don't use it at all, and I was tempted to do that, I really was. I don't know too much about the pistols in this game because I only ever use Billy's. I always drop Rebecca's on the train to give her more slots because I look at it like this, I'm generally not going to be fighting anything with Rebecca if I can help it. But the speedrunners, because they are so optimized and everything has been thought out to be dropped and placed and spaced perfectly, you know, they rarely ever use those weapons. As soon as they get this shotgun, they're done. But I really like the pistol, and I look at it as kind of like the workhorse of this game. When I need to do something without feeling like I'm burning ammo, I'll use a pistol. The last boss, I'm gonna use a pistol. Ooh, that was really lucky. Jesus. So, yeah. That knocked him down, but it didn't decapitate him, so swap to the pistol and finish him off. This room is got a couple dudes in it. Actually, he might be dead. Oh, he is dead. I don't know where I've got that from, but normally, if I don't see a decap, I always try and put the pistol on to make sure I finish. But we're going to wait for these fellas. If you can get them grouped together, you can get double decaps. I'm just not very good at doing it, / lucky enough to get it all the time. Sometimes you can get it as a gift, it's really cool. But could I have run past those zombies? Definitely. The problem is, it's one hell of a reset if I don't, because I have to go kill the boss again. So at this point, I'm going to be choosing safer options just for the sake of it. Once you open this door, there's no threats in this room. Drop the key, and then start pushing this this thing. It's like mini table. It's a portable mini dinner table thing. That my grandma has 2 of these in her house. It's kind of like the front room lap table when there's too many people eating there, so you can't all fit around the main table. Turn on the light. That will make the item that we're collecting here show up, which will be the, I think it's the hour hand, or the minute, I think it's the minute hand for the clock. And in this room there is probably some ammunition somewhere, maybe some pistol bullets, but I'm not going to bother with them because we don't have the space at the moment. So get the clock hand, and then before this we're going to save. Because I know we have to go back through the crows, back through that room with those 2 bugs in it, and hit the clock. And I can tell you right now, guys, I've been able to do it without being hit and not shooting those bugs. But I got hit by a crow on the way out, just out of complete bullshit. Never happened to me before, never happened again. And then when I went back, of course, I kept getting hit. So in the end, I decided to kill them, and I'm going to be using the shotgun to do so. So I just dropped the iron needle there, and I don't know why. I think it's a little bit of improvisational planning here, because I want to come in here and get the book. But you'll notice what I've done wrong if you've played this game a lot. The book I'm going to get is not for the black statue, it's for the white statue, so I'm not going to be able to combine them and keep them in my inventory. So what I'm doing now is kind of saving me time, but it's going to cost me time as well, because it's not going to combine, and I'm going to need Rebecca to come and pop the wings onto that statue so I can pick up the things I've just dropped. So once again, folks, this is not the most optimized. I'm no speedrunner, but I will definitely get you through this game without taking damage, because that is something I can do up to the very final phase of the final boss. So this is when I realise what I've done, and I'm like, yeah, shit. But that's just inexperience, guys. And if you're doing this and following this walkthrough, like I hope you are, you're not trying to get a ridiculously fast score, unless you're trying to do everything I'm doing. If you're going for your S-rank run, at least me telling you now, if you'd have given Billy the white statue, and perhaps had Rebecca pick up the black statue, it might have been a little bit faster. Or, additionally, you could have dropped them near the statue, which is what I tend to do. But instead, I'm going to have good old Rebecca come this way and help me out. She's going to pick up both the grenade rounds and the things that I've dropped. And here she comes. So, she's going to grab those grenade rounds. Grenade rounds on hard are incredibly rare. I cannot even begin to stress how much you want to save them and prioritize them. If you are flippantly using grenade rounds, you're going to have to try incredibly hard to do anything against the final boss, because it's kind of a ball ache. The good news is, the game gives you what you need. It won't give you anything more, but it will give you enough. And if you use them smartly, and you don't waste them, you should easily be able to put a dent in anything that you come across. And I'm having trouble picking this up. So a little tip there, folks. On the D-pad, you can use the tank controls, even when you're on alt controls. So if you're having trouble, just make your character step back a few times and you can pick stuff up easily. My issue is, my D-pad doesn't work. So when I try and use tank controls, the character doesn't move at all. I get really mad, and I just kind of bitch and whine. So I'm not going to be doing too much of that. You're going to see me do some stupid spinning on the spot nonsense. So I'm having Billy run up to the door so I can send Rebecca over here. She's going to pick up these shells. She's also going to pick up the ink ribbon, because we're going to be saving before we do the next sequence. It's just a little optimization, and then we can swap characters and we can immediately go through the door as Billy. So, getting into the habit of doing what I just did then, in every room, if you think out what you're going to do before you enter it, is going to cut off the time on your run astronomically, because it really does add up. It adds up so much, and if you can have everything planned out before you do it, you're going to easily beat this game in under 3.5 hours. And if you're doing it on normal, because you can't do it on easy, folks, do not do it on easy. It doesn't rank you on easy, which really sucks, I think. Easy mode is incredibly easy. Zombies die in like 2 bullets, and they literally throw first aid sprays at you in every room. It's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, you should at least let the people who, to them, that's still challenging, or that's the level of challenge they want, at least be graded. Even if you cap the grades so that you can't get any higher than a C or something, it would be nice to let them have something. But instead, they're just like, you know, thanks for playing, now take the stabilizers off and do the game right, dickhead. It's really strict. But that's what these games were like, guys, you know, back in these days. Rank was a big thing, score running was a big thing, and people took a lot of, you know, pleasure and pride in having good scores, high ranks, and they didn't want it being polluted or diluted by casuals, which is kind of horrible, but I understand it. It is kind of elitist, but that's what games used to be, and a lot of communities these days still are. As we progress back through this area as Billy, and you'll notice I don't have a weapon on, because this is still at the moment where I'm thinking about running past them, and then I'm going to pop the grenade launcher on, and I'm going to be like, yeah, fuck this. So, the crows in this room, as long as you circle away from where they are, they should never generally grab you. These bugs will take 2 grenades to kill. Wait for them to hit you, aim down, always aim down. If you aim across, you'll miss them. I learnt that the hard way with the shotgun. And as soon as you hear that noise, it means they're dead. So that's both of them dead. Now hit the clock. And I'm telling you guys, if you don't care about no damage, or if you've saved and you want to just really get a good run here, do this until you can get past it without using the grenades, and then you can save those grenades and use them at something different. And that's what a lot of this game is about when you're trying to do something such as this. It's about optimizing your path and your usage of ammunition and feeling confident about it. If you could save infinitely, I would have done so many areas so differently, but you can't, and that's what makes this as unique as it is, as you make the clock go 8:15 and it opens both the doors. It is literally that fact of everything you do has to be weighed and assessed against how much you can save. Because if you get into a situation where you can't save, that means you have to play perfectly for large periods of time. And if you're a great player, that's awesome. But even great players are going to struggle because this game is incredibly random. Like, how many times have you watched Carcinogen do speedruns on these games, and he's reset 50 times in a row because some bullshit has happened that never happens? And that's just on one day worth of Resident Evil. And if you're playing it across the space of a week, how many times do you think you're going to get fucked by these random moments? So saving is incredibly powerful. Because this game, as much as you can control it, as much as you can understand it, at times, it's a dice getting flicked in the air, and you don't know what's going to land. You know, you're flipping coins, you're praying, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's the way it works, but it can be even more difficult if you choose not to save. Like a no-saving hard run will be one of those things where you really show mastery of the game, because you have to, because you can't rely on, oh, I'll just redo that. You have to just commit to it. And if you were to do something like a no damage, no save hard run, that's probably the most insane thing you can do in this game, because it demands 100% concentration, 100% memorization at all times. And speaking of, I hate this fucking room. I could not do this room to save my life. So what you're watching here is the result of about 20 resets. And I figured out earlier, I could have done that differently. And I could have done that way easier. Grab the film, go in there with Rebecca, wedge her against the door, and have her warp you out. That would have worked. But at the time, I just wasn't thinking that way. I wasn't in the Resident Evil 0 mindset, so instead, I got kinda screwed. But now that we've got both the microfilms, we're going to be taking them to this doorway over here, and we're going to be popping them in this room. The good thing about this room is there are zombies in here, but you don't have to mess with them. Go up to this, use the film, and then insert the second film, and it's going to give you the answer to the next puzzle. Pretty simple stuff. As soon as you get the MO disc, which is going to give you along with the photograph, we're going to move on, and we're going to go all the way back to the room that's depicting, and we're going to be solving the puzzle that raises the sword doors. So get the hell out of here once you get the disc, and bear in mind the corridor we've just been through is now going to be populated by a Leechman, but you don't have to mess with him. The Leechmen on this game are so ridiculous, they take so much damage they're not worth fighting. That is a creature that even on normal takes a ridiculous amount of damage. That will take 2 rockets to kill that bastard. It's obnoxious.
Okay.
Just how much they hurt. And then, if you don't kill them with fire, they can do that ridiculous explosion move that can do massive damage. And a lot of the times they can walk full distance corridors to you and still hit you. So it's incredibly dangerous enemy. Don't even bother. However, here is the MO disc room. Come up to this podium, insert the disc. It's going to give you a randomly generated combination of numbers and letters, and then you have to match them to the seats. So as on this particular run was 2D. So I'm going to take one character to number 2, I'm going to stop them there, and I'm going to take the other character to D, stop them there, and then we're going to swap between both of them to make the sequence of 2D. So there you see the number 2, you see the number D, and all you have to do is correlate those positions to the number that you've been given. Yours will be different, or you might get lucky and get the same one. I trust that you'll be able to figure this one out. It's not too tricky. The camera makes things more tricky than it needs to be, because that's just what these games were like. You know, fixed camera is something that I kind of hope that we bring it back, or a dev uses it again, because we haven't really seen this kind of technology for a very long time now, and machines are so much more powerful. Just imagine how creative and cool you could do fixed camera these days. I think if a team really dedicated themselves to doing it, they could do something really special. And I would like to talk at length about this, but this walkthrough isn't really going to afford it me, so once you enter here, decap this guy, and then you should have a clean run to hit the door you need. There are more zombies, but you can just kind of get around them. In this particular room, there's going to be some grenade rounds that you definitely need, and then there's going to be the item that we need as well, which is the black wing, so that we can open up the basement. But before we do this, we have to move these chess pieces. And this is a nightmare on alternate controls, because the pushing detection on this game is really bad. Absolutely bad. And this is me trying to use the D-pad to get around it. And this part is easy. It's this next bit, if you go around the way I do it. Getting a detection as the camera keeps swapping between the 2 positions is a goddamn nightmare. But I managed to do it decently on this. The way to not do that is to push it too far down, and then you'll be in a real rough spot where the camera doesn't know what to do, your character doesn't know where to push, and I was there for like 2 minutes trying to do it, getting really mad. And then on your way back, be really careful too, because you might start pushing something you don't mean to, and if you push any of the other pieces, you will poison yourself, and you will need to use a blue herb. But there is the evil book, the Necronomicon, or whatever it wants to be. Examine it, open it, get the wing from it, combine it with the black statue, and then we can... See what I mean? Like, you've got to be careful, because you start pushing this shit if you're not careful. But when you exit, it's kind of like flipping a coin again. If he's too close, he might try and grab you. If you run towards him, he'll definitely grab you. So be very careful on your exit there. Keep your shotgun just in case. And I just asked her to come with me, because I know now the only thing left to do is to pop the 2 statues onto the scales, and it's going to open up the next sequence in the game, which is, of course, the basement. The basement is a pretty short section, but it also has one of the hardest sections in the game. It is then shortly followed by the lab, which is shorter still, then by the factory, which I'm going to be doing incredibly quickly, and then the water treatment plant, which is the end of the game. So this game is going to go by really quickly, guys. Hopefully you're having no issue with what I'm showing here, and you're just optimizing your path and, you know, doing even better than I'm doing here, and you're getting all those achievements, those trophies, all those sense of personal gratification as we push on here. But now that this has been combined, it's going to remove the portrait of Marcus, and it's going to open up a new area. And if you're arachnophobic, this next corridor is going to be one of your least favourites in the game. It took me quite some time to get over the initial repulsion of this room, but it's not too bad. And the good news is you do not have to fight the spiders, you can just run past them. And I would actually implore you not to fight them, because how much ammo they take and how douchey they are, it's just not worth your time. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.